Okay. Any other comment from council on the additions, deletions, and referrals? Hearing none. We'll all entertain a motion to approve the January 11th
I move to approve
minutes.
the meeting.
Okay. Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Nays? Motion carries. All right, item B, tab 2. Motion to place the number
I'll move it.
26. Okay.
I'll second.
Card number 26.
Council agenda professional service agreement with the Cardino Group. Got a motion? Got a second? Staff report?
Mayor, the Cardino Group has been retained by the city to perform all transportation reviews in accordance with state, county, and local regulations while coordinating with the various governmental entities. In addition, Mr. Cardino has submitted a proposal scope of service, which is attached, outlining the different traffic impact analysis and other review services. Staff's recommendation is the Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a professional services agreement with the Cardino Group in the amount not to exceed $50,000 pursuant to the RFQ. This is the item that we ask be moved on to the consent agenda.
Questions from council? For questions from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Tab 3, Keysgate Farmers Market. Motion to move it on?
Motion to move keys.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you. Staff report?
Mayor, on September 30th, 2010, the council passed a resolution approving a special exception to permit interim agricultural uses on an approximately 14.54-acre parcel located on southwest corner of the intersection of Southwest 328 Street, Southeast 28th Avenue for a hydroponic farm, aeroponic farm, pot nursery, and/or tree nursery, and a farmer's market. We have a city attorney's office here, and James White. Basically, there's a concern about what exactly did you mean by farmer's market, and we were hoping to get some clarification from you because the group that got the permit, they would like to add certain items such as eggs, seafood, fruits, honey, some dishes, cakes, and also some artisans would have candle makers, soap makers, jewelry makers, etc. And there was a concern about whether your original intent was fruits and vegetables only, or whether you meant a traditional farmer's market, which includes all these items.
You didn't ask Richard, did you? He lives in a high-rise. James, you can't answer this question. Questions from council? Let's hear it.
I see the applicant. I'd like to hear his ideas first.
Okay. Step on up there.
Long pants and all of that.
Good evening, Patrick Lieber, 888 Kingman Road. I thought all the questions were going to be about the pot nursery, but I'll go from there.
Actually, you don't need to say anything. Personally, I think everybody's very happy with what you've produced so far.
Yeah, it's not a unique thought, I can tell you that. As far as the farmers market goes, I've spent, my group spent, my construction company spent a significant amount of time and a significant amount of money to develop the organic garden and the hydroponic farm and the organic farm there to sell to the public and to Keysgate. So the question came, other people have been coming to me within Keysgate and outside of Keysgate and Homestead wanting to sell their goods. So I said, well, we asked, there was somebody that grows orchids, they wanted to sell orchids. So we called the city to find out if we could sell orchids, and we couldn't sell orchids. So I put down all those items there because I would like to have some nonprofit organizations, Girl Scouts, if they want to sell cookies there, if they want to sell, some people want to, the Little Angels, if they want to do their thing. But I also want, there's some very qualified and quality people that grow some great stuff here in Homestead, and why not have the opportunity to sell it to the people in Keysgate and the surrounding communities? So I'm not going to be selling Velveteen Elvises, I'm not vacuum cleaners or old track shoes. Not that I have anything against Velveteen Elvises, but it's what it is. I just want, I'm looking to sell what other people have to offer that are quality, and it's a good product, you know, and that's it. It's as simple and as difficult as that.
Good deal. Questions from council?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I guess one of my concerns is, are you going to keep it as local vendors only? I mean, we're not going to see people showing up from Broward County, you know, and setting up big tables, because, I mean, that's one of my current concerns is, you know, that we get.
There's people in the Redlands that grow organic, there's people in Homestead that grow organic. I have, you know, the other thing, the big overwhelming thing there is I still have the residents of Keysgate that will let it be known that if it becomes too much, and I'm not looking to become a store when I'm looking at it, you know, I would love to have a honey, you know, somebody grows honey. There's a woman that lives in Homestead that makes her own soap. I think it's cool, you know, I think that kind of stuff it should be nice to have it out there. So, and no, I'm not looking, it's not going to be huge, and it's going to be quality. The thing is I sell the produce so inexpensively that nobody else is going to come in and start trying to sell their produce because they'd be foolish to try and sell against me.
And just one more comment. I guess if I could say, I've known Mr. Gleber for a while, and everything that he has done and does do is usually of quality, as he said. So, and with him overlooking it, and with Mr. Sullivan looking over his shoulder, I'm sure things will be kept in check.
I hear you. Vice Mayor has a question?
Yes. I just have a comment. I'm sorry I was out. I didn't hear what John said earlier, but this is the best thing that's ever happened to the east side of Homestead, I think. It is so great on Saturday mornings to be able to get up out of bed and we're going to the farmer's market. And it's become a social thing. I mean, I know Mayor Bateman was late to the rodeo parade because his wife wanted to go to the farmer's market before she came to the parade to get her produce. And you have beautiful produce, too, by the way.
Then they carded her, and they wouldn't let her in.
And she went twice that day, by the way.
But now, anybody can go in there.
Yes, it's open to the public.
It's open to the public. And I happened to see Patrick one day, and I said, why don't you sell breads, and why don't you sell, you know, salsas, and why aren't you doing this, you know, why aren't you? And he goes, they won't let me. And I said, well, that's not right. So I wasn't the one that brought it before council. I don't know who did, but I think it was Mr. Craig. But I think it's wonderful, and it's so professional, and it's so clean, and so beautiful, and it's just become an outing. And I encourage all of you to go to our farmers markets. We have one at Losner Park, then Main Street, and the Montessori School puts on, and I think there's a new one opening in Florida City. But this is a great, beautiful venue, and I support you completely. And I know you'll be very careful and use your discretion as to what you will allow in there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shelley.
Yeah, no, I just, my only concern was I wanted to, you know, I have no problem with the food products and things of that nature. I just, again, I don't want to see it turn into a flea market where you're starting to sell products and then it becomes knick-knacks and stuff. And I don't think with you running it will. But that would be my only concern is you get that slippery slope where do you draw the line, and then, you know, that's the only thing I want to make sure. So for the record, I want to make sure I put it out there that that's not what I want to see. But, you know, I think like you said, the breads, the salsas there, the organic products, any kind of food product, it all complements what you're doing there. It becomes a great venue where you can go and get all those types of things. So that's the only thing. I just want to make sure it doesn't turn into something less desirable.
And truly, it is not my intention. I don't have that desire, and I don't think the homeowners in Keysgate they'll be burning the tiki torches and coming after me. So that's,
Well, you know, I concur with Mr. Shelley on this. I think the safe way to do it for other residents, and you have done a great job, Patrick, is that continue to bring us lists of things that you want. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If bring us a list of 20 items, and if it's not somebody, you know, doing voodoo out there or something, we're going to say yes to you, you know.
hey, Tim, there goes your voodoo guy.
But, you know, that way we're safe. We come in, we said the last 10 items, he asked for orchids, and he asked for this, and he asked for that. That way we feel secure, and we didn't just give you a turnkey operation.
I have no problem in whoever wants to come in. First, I'm going to look at them, and then I'm going to go to you guys and say, hey, if you guys are okay with this, I'm okay with it.
If you're happy with that?
That's no problem. I have no problem with that.
I think we're safe that way.
Mayor, would it be, I agree with you, that's a great idea, but would it be okay for us to give the discretion to our manager rather than you have to come before council? And that way you don't have to...
No, I think at that point, you're asking...
Well, I mean, I hate for him to have to wait a whole month if somebody has a great product that they want to bring in.
Sure, we can get it time.
The one thing I'd say is, if you're okay with the items that they have here,
Yeah,
those categories, then we could do those, and then if they want additional ones,
And they fall within those
they
categories.
fall within these categories, we'll say fine.
If they
there's
don't?
something above, then we'll come back.
Come back. I like that.
Great.
Okay.
I like that. Good. Okay, thank you.
Very well said. Thank you very much.
Okay, with that said, Madam Clerk, roll call. I want no slip-ups here. Okay?
You're really just
So
giving
then
us
you would
direction
just
and interpretation, if you're comfortable with that interpretation,
got it.
that's how we'll administer.
Right, I guess just as a point of information, the manager has added certain items onto the agenda which you haven't seen before, which is really just asking for guidance.
Okay.
And they really don't require a motion, they're just to hear this kind of discussion, and so he knows what direction to move in.
Okay, sounds good. All right, then we're going to move to another really hot item here, and that's the bowling alley. Tab 4, discussions and or actions. Staff report. Could you give us a...
Mayor, I wanted to clarify, did you want each of the proposers to give a brief presentation again, or what's your pleasure? They're both here and they're ready.
If that's the will of the council, what's the council feel? Give me some nods. Presentation again? Our minds are made up, or?
Presentations for,
I agree with Councilman Shelley, just a condensed, maybe 1 2-minute version.
Okay, very brief. Would you like to come forward? Wayne, you want to go first?
good evening, council. My name is Wayne Rosen, 277 Galleon Court, Coral Gables. With me is Frank Bolaños and Rolando Llanes, the architect for the Somerset Academy. We made quite a long presentation last time, and I'd like to fill you in on, I guess, the basics of what we're trying to accomplish. We would like to take the bowling alley site and convert it into a K through 12 educational center. Excuse me. And we have a slide presentation, right? No, there is. Okay. And I don't know what else to bring up.
Yes, Frank Bolaños. I reside at 3024 Northwest 99th Place in Doral, Florida. One of the components that we added in the response to the city's invitation for the January 24th response was that we did do our very best to answer one of the questions that had come up as to what added value our proposal provided for the city and city residents. And at the latter part and the end of that response, we calculated what the adult nighttime after-school component of the charter school would provide city residents. And that's an adult vocational, an adult technical component, and that further clarifies our intent to not only provide and answer the great need that city parents and students have to continue their education in a quality charter school, but also in this very difficult and dire economic time to provide both vocational and technical education to adults residing in the city of Homestead. Adults, by the way, include a significant and unfortunate portion of our public student population that does not graduate in school, that is in very dire need to come back and receive vocational training. Thank you.
Excuse me. May I ask Frank? Frank, what page were you just quoting from? Because
Yes, the last page of the proposal.
Of the black book?
Yes, includes a value-added section, and it talks about two areas. One is the significant research and proven impact that a good quality school will provide to area residents from the way of home property values increasing, as well as business property values increasing. And then the second component is where we estimated approximately 250 students that would be served in the adult vocational half-hour component of the school, and then we calculated that that would take approximately 10 classrooms, 10 teachers, and the facilities available for that.
I didn't mean to take up your time, so please
No.
allow them to add up I just didn't know what
Thank
page
you.
you're
I
coming from,
appreciate
and I
that.
wanted to make
The
sure.
only additional comment I want to make is have Mr. Yanes talk a little bit about the facility development, if he may.
Apologize.
Thank you, Frank, and Mayor, council members. My name is Rolando Yanes. I'm principal of Civica, the architects on this project. And as I mentioned last time, it's important to note that Somerset Academy already has 2 existing schools here in the city of Homestead that will provide a link to this particular campus. In fact, one of the schools, as you know, is very close by to the site. The intent that we have for the immediate use of the facility is to open up a phase 1 on the western, probably on the western side of the building, the west side of the building, to renovate that area to accommodate an initial phase of about 200, 250 students, and then over the course of the following school year to subsequently continue to improve the facilities, to fully build it out, to provide all of the required programmatic elements that the school will ultimately need, such as labs, additional rec space, and things like that. So that's the general intent that we have for the facility. We've also obviously looked at the physical plan in terms of how the traffic distribution would work and things like that. So we're ready to hit the ground running, as it were, if this were to be approved and we were allowed to move forward. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have on the facilities.
Does council have any questions, please?
I guess my one question would be to Mr. Rosen. With this proposal here of a school this evening, and then we also hear from you in a little bit about another proposed school possibility, is there enough volume within this city to support both projects that are being spoken about tonight by you?
Yeah, our study shows that there's enough volume. My understanding is there's close to 400 kids that are being taken to the Silver Palm School that will end up coming back to this bowling alley school. And the second proposal, if you want me to go into it, it's considering a college component that we don't have here.
That was my question. I just wanted to make sure, because that would be 3 schools online, in the near future. And I just was making sure that
This school is primarily for the southwest section, and there's around 650 kids that are already on the waiting list to go there, and we think there's plenty more to come.
Thank you.
Councilman Shelley.
Mr. Mayor, and just to follow up on Councilman Burgess's question, that was one of the things that I asked at the last meeting when we had the last kind of discussion on these 2 issues. Is I wanted some sort of documentation, some sort of numbers that showed that, and it wasn't included in the second proposal. There's nothing in my packet. It's actually one of the concerns noted by our staff was that was not included in there, and so that's one of my concerns about that site. Is again, we're going to have this big school we just opened. There's another school that opened, and we have all these schools, which is fantastic for our community. But I get to the concern where I don't want to have an overabundance of schools and then not be able to fill them, especially, again, like I stated before, this is a charter school, for-profit institution, and if these kids don't show up, then the school goes under. So it's just a concern that I had, and I never got any answers for that, so that was just something I really...
Are you concerned about the school at the bowling alley? Is that what we're discussing now?
That's what we're discussing tonight, is this particular project. Right.
Okay. Well, there's already 650 kids that we know would go tomorrow, so the entire school's going to be around 1,000 students, so we think there's plenty of need for the school right now, presently.
Councilman Shelley, in the proposal, we may not have included a level of specificity or detail you may have been looking for, but we did specifically include the list of students on a waiting list by grade, which is exactly 387. And in our narrative, we stated that, in our humble opinion, that's a irrefutable proof that there is a very strong demand for a school in that area. We also cited that Somerset has gone through a very rigorous application process with Miami-Dade County Public Schools. It's a 20-section application is it's a review that goes before a technical and statistical review by the school board, and then goes before a technical review committee. So they, at the school board level, have had to answer this and some other relevant questions to both need and ability to open the school and run it effectively.
Just a follow-up. Sure. And I understand that. I'm not here to argue back and forth per se. My only concern is that there's schools that are getting ready to come online that I don't think are part of, there's children, yes, on a wait list, I understand that, but there's also 2 or 3 other schools that are going to open up almost simultaneously with your proposed school, that those children will then have choices to go to. So it's not, if this was only for this school, then I would say that's fine, but that's why I wanted actual numbers. I wanted a study. I wanted something I could look at it and say, yes, you're right, I have proof, versus just saying it could not, but, it doesn't, does it account for this school, does it account for that school, does it account for the other schools? That's all. But I understand. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. John Burgess. Yes, a follow-up through the chair and the manager to Mr. Brea. I believe when we originally discussed this, we talked about the state possibility of school zones, and we hadn't received a response back or gotten clarification from them. Have we been able to receive anything back from the state about what we would need to do as a city or as a group for Highway 1 and how all that would be handled?
Well, the state is not going to comment until an application is actually submitted for the work itself. What we do have from the state is that they have allowed schools in the past to build up on a federal highway such as this one. So that has happened in the past. But they will not comment on specifics until they actually get the application for the traffic study to see what exactly is needed on the roadway. The applicant will need to apply and will need to go through that traffic study in order to ascertain what kind of requirements are going to be put upon the applicant or on the adjacent roadways in terms of how it's going to impact the traffic. But in terms of specifics, it's very hard to say right now what kind of specific demands the state is going to put upon that roadway per se, based on this particular use. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Mayor, I just had this one question, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but one of the concerns that were brought up was disruption to the city's fleet operations, which are located behind the property. Through the chair to the manager.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, as most of you are aware, the fleet facility is located almost directly behind the bowling alley. It's a little bit askew to the side. The street back there is used by city vehicles coming in and out of the facility. And one of the concerns that staff had is with pickup stacking occurring, in other words, 30, 40, 50 vehicles lining up to pick up the children, that line may reach up to the entrance of the fleet facility, basically blocking the entrance and the exit of the facility, which would impede our vehicles from coming in and out.
Follow-up question, is that our road? Is that a road specifically for the city Homestead, or is it just public road?
That's a public road, but the entrance to our facilities are off of that road.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
One last.
Sure.
Question. One other question too is, this is a tough decision we have, and I'll kind of talk about both of them once both parties have presented. But one of the questions I did want to ask this particular applicant is that, I think we have a potential here to actually have a bowling alley at this site and also have a school within the Southwest. I don't really consider this to be the Southwest school at this particular location, and so I did ask the staff to look into other possible locations within the Southwest where a school could be built, and they did locate that there were possibly 1 or 2 potential areas, and so I guess I just want to find out, is that something that you would be interested in? I mean, is that something that be doing another alternative site than this particular site?
If there was an existing building that could be converted, we would be very interested, but we understand there's only vacant land, and that would put a school out at least a couple of years. So at this point in time, we don't think that it would make sense. And getting back to your earlier question on the need for this school, the Somerset Academy has approximately 600 students in 2 locations across the street. Those schools will be a feeder pattern to this new school. So if you take the waiting list of approximately 400 kids, the 250 kids that are going to Silver Palms, you're pretty much at capacity for this site alone. And if there's some other locations in the future you would like us to work on, we'd certainly look at that. We think there's a tremendous need, not just for the bowling alley, but for future locations as well.
Okay. One quick question. And this is to the mayor, to Mr. Gaxis, probably, I don't know who will be answering it, but the CDBG, did we ever find out whether or not we were in compliance?
Yeah.
Mayor, Council, I have contacted HUD on several occasions. We have 3 conflicting answers as of today. Still working on that.
What is your consensus? I mean, what do you think? I'm sorry, Jan, I'm not going to put you in the spot. I just, that's a big question, though, is it not? I mean,
I think we're pretty sure that the property is restricted to CDBG program types. What we don't know for certain is whether the school would qualify or not. So that's, I think, the piece that's still missing, correct?
Well, I got an additional response today that we haven't had a chance to discuss just this afternoon. Well, the latest consensus from HUD is that the property and or the proceeds are restricted to CDBG eligible activities. So I can't get a clear answer of what and or means.
For the record, would you give an example as to what those projects are?
Well, when we had the discussion with Mr. Causey from HUD on the phone, he intimated that the bowling alley would probably meet CDB eligible requirements because this bowling alley was there before. He wasn't sure about the charter school. I sent him a copy of the response to the proposal, and he never offered an opinion. So I sent all of that stuff to the Miami HUD office today, and I talked to our representative on the phone, and she was going to look over the information and see if I could get a clearer response from her. But it is HUD.
Thank you.
Okay. With that said, if no further questions, let's hear from the second applicant, please. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'll try to make this very brief. I'm Henry Kaufman, 4620 Southwest 156 Place, Miami. We appreciate your time again this evening and staff's time in reviewing the latest package. At the last council meeting, the kind of issue that was left open was really one of quality of life. Does the city want a school, a recreational bowling center, or some other use for the property? And I'm hoping tonight that the council will give some guidance to staff so they can go forward with this. We've obviously submitted our package. You all have a copy of our package. We've made our pitch in a lot of ways, so I'm not going to repeat that. What I would like to raise is some concerns that we have that affect both projects. Zoning is still a pending issue. Do we or the school have a permitted use to site zone B1? A bowling alley is B2. This kind of was discussed in some staff correspondence that came out at the last meeting. We need to know if either party, I guess, is going to have to end up at a public hearing. We're both looking for September openings. If we have to go through the public hearing process and everything else, I don't think we would make a September opening. So the zoning is a major issue that we feel the city needs to address back to the respondents here. We also have concerns, and this was raised by people that we're looking at as potential investors, the CDB grant, which was just discussed by Ms. Waldman. There were also additional conditions raised at the last meeting by the city council that they potentially might want as part of the deal. Mr. Burgess mentioned having a piece of the action or the profits of some future sale, that the city had a vested interest in the land value. So all of these kind of issues need to be negotiated as part of a package because it affects how we finance and how we sell the deal to people and if the deal is doable within our time frame. We're hoping that you guys give appropriate direction to staff. We would love to do the project. We're prepared to sit at any point and negotiate with the staff and, bring our investors in and talk about it. We're just looking for the city to make a decision on direction tonight. Thank you. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Questions from council?
Well, I guess Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, please.
I guess my first question would be to the attorney. What could we do and what do we do about the zoning change if needed? That is needed.
Depending upon what you do, I think, our view is that either one could be done fairly quickly. The school needs a special exception, which we would just go through the process. The bowling alley is not included within the B1 uses, and they were a non-conforming use, but they lost that status because they discontinued operations. If you wanted to do the bowling alley, the quickest way to do that would just be through a zoning ordinance change, and we would add in the B1 district just a category for bowling alleys, both of which I think can be done relatively, quickly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Further questions from council? Yes, sir.
One of the concerns I guess I had for this particular project is again where the financing's coming from to remodel this bowling alley. If you purchase it from us, whether whatever deal we end up working on at some point in the future or negotiating, where's your financing? Where's your money coming from to actually remodel this bowling alley, to get it up and running, to turn it into what you've envisioned, and then hopefully do what it is you say you can do?
We have an investor package. We are negotiating with our investors right now. They have questions that we need to get with staff to answer, obviously, the fact whether or not some parties are interested or not. We will put up 30% of the capital required up front. We will give you a commitment from a local lender or a national bank for the balance of the funds for construction. We would be perfectly willing to accept that as a condition to move forward on a proposed contract of sale, that all proof of funds are up there. But frankly, I can't get final commitments because I don't know where certain issues stand. And if we don't have the zoning as part of the contract, no one's going to do the deal from my side. And there are some other questions about the legitimacy of the investment. And so we kind of need to get all of our ducks in a row with you, report that back to our people, and then we'll produce either money in an escrow account, a letter of credit. We've met with Wachovia last week on the overall construction financing of the deal. We had a very serious discussion on what the property will appraise up ultimately and how much cash we have to put in addition to signing the notes on the deal. It may ultimately end up as a package of 3 or 4 investor partners and us, depending upon how the deal ultimately flushes out and what the terms of the sale would be of the land from the city to us.
All right, thank you.
Further questions? Further questions from council?
Question.
Yes.
Has anyone in this organization, other than running, owned a business owner from the Kaufman and Sons?
Well, I've obviously been in business for the last 40 years. Josh will be handling the actual bowling business. He served as the manager of bowling centers in the past. He's not run his own business yet.
Okay, thank you.
But you would be overseeing the actual financing and day-to-day, not day-to-day operations, but you would be watching over what Joshua does,
I
right?
think if you
It'd be
look
a
at,
business entity.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. I
No.
think if you look at the first package we submitted as part of
Right,
the
I have it.
ITN, we listed kind of a group of people that would be involved with the business. We have Randy Pope, who's a local contractor and attorney. He's going to be involved with the business. A gentleman by the name of Lester Garfinkel, who is an accountant who was head of TAO, which was a publicly traded group at New York Stock Exchange out of New York. He'll be the chief financial overseer of the company. I'll be sitting on the board. Several of the investors will be sitting on the board. So there's going to be a group of business people that are going to be looking at the overall operation of the center, that the center meets its financial goals and obligations, that the center is being managed properly. We're going to be defining for each of the three groups in the center. We have the bowling group, we have the restaurant group, and we have the fitness group, expense and revenue goals that they're going to have to be meeting on a monthly basis. And, you know, that will be monitored by a more senior group of people involved with the business. And clearly my investors are going to want to have a say in the overall, you know, profitability of the business.
I guess I have just been spending my time comparing, and I'm flipping this paper back and forth because that's where the comparisons are, back and forth, back and forth. You know, the school is offering the $5 million paid out over $1 million is paid out over a period of 6 years with $1 a year and $250,000 in years 3 and 6. I'm very concerned about that CDBG money and whether or not a school would qualify there. Just from past experience, I'm a little concerned about that.
Vice Mayor, I think it's also important to note that the city attorney has analyzed this as well, and he's got an alternate view of what we've been told on the phone. So I think it's important for the record that you hear that as well.
Not to make your decision more difficult, but
Why not, Richard?
why not? But, and ultimately, what Jan says is right, HUD's going to be the ultimate determiner. But we have done some analysis of this years ago, and I don't really believe that the building's encumbered the way HUD said it is. And I think it would be, our view is that it would be an appropriate use of the bowling alley for a school, that it's not limited by the CDGB funds. I know that that's different from HUD, and in the end, my opinion is, you know, not worth anything because HUD's going to make this decision. But I will tell you, finally, but I will tell you that we do, that our research shows that it's quite technical according to the regulations, that this building is, that the building and the proceeds from the building are unencumbered.
Excellent. She feels better now.
No, I'm trying to understand this completely.
It's a different opinion, but that's, you know, HUD has their own opinion, and this is just what our research has shown. And
Well, I don't see that we can make a decision either way tonight until we get these answers back. I mean, that's just my feeling.
you could make you could make a conditional decision and say that, you know, we award it to X. You know, if there's a question about the school, or, you know, because I award it to either one contingent upon HUD signing off on the fact that either the funds are unencumbered or that it's a permitted use, one or the other.
But I also know that HUD could take quite a bit of time to give you an answer, so, if at all. But I was going over this, and the school, 92 permanent jobs, 81 construction jobs, no ad valorem, though, to the city. And then the bowling alley here offered us $2 million in an installment sale. Correct, Mr. Coleman?
Correct.
Financed by the city at 6% over a 10-year term. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, I mean, it's our building. We can be the banker on that. Or, excuse me, or an outright purchase of $1,750,000. And again, I can't say for sure that when it would happen, but I do believe that ad valorem would be brought into effect. Am I right, Richard? As soon as it closes, it would be. Okay, then it would. If it was a bowling alley, then we would have
Right, it would
ad
become
valorem.
taxable as soon as the closing took place.
Okay. and the 98 permanent jobs as opposed to the 92 permanent jobs. So, you know, I've been asking the people of the community, what do you want? What do you want to see? Mr. Shelley, I think you made a really good point as far as I'm getting a lot of conversation about all the schools, and I know we're going to talk tonight about another school in the Park of Commerce, correct, City Manager? And so, I don't know, but I do see that each one of these things, there's issues that's going to be contingent upon. So, I guess I'll wait to hear from the rest of my colleagues.
Further questions?
Mayor, Councilman Maldonado pointed out, there is a third proposal in your packet. I wasn't sure whether you had any interest in hearing. I think they're here, so, but it's your choice.
Then I thought we discussed the fact that we went through an
That's it.
RFP process, we waited months.
This came in after you had said that, so we figured we'd give it to you, and then you could decide what you wanted to do with it.
Well, this is the gospel.
Yeah, I explained to him that we went through the process already, so I think we're...
I mean, I don't think we can even legally go back.
Yeah.
We went through an RFP process and put a title on what we wanted to do, and now we're going to turn around and add a third person in the 12th hour?
If you wanted to accept the proposal again, you would do the same thing we did on the sports. You would reject the proposals and go through that if you wanted to.
Well, let's hear the council's consensus, because I'm not interested in that at all. These people have spent a lot of time and effort. How many months have you been involved in this, sir?
Our first proposal was submitted 7 months ago. I think the original
7 months.
ITN was issued over 8 months ago.
7 months.
I'm okay with that. Just
That's
like
the
I said,
reputation
George,
you
I
want
just
to have
mentioned
to
it,
do business?
so it's fine. And I explained it to, spoke to this person. I told him, listen, we're at the final hour here, so we just mentioned it. That's all.
Inventing it's the wrong way to get a reputation of doing business.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
I have general comments now at this point. You know, kind of going off what the Vice Mayor stated, you know, this is a tough decision because neither one of these projects really stands out per se. I mean, you know, like I said, I have concerns about financing on the bowling alley side. I have concerns about, you know, the school. The biggest thing I have with the school is that we're putting on a major commercial corridor. We're taking some major commercial property that would be prime real estate, and that we're essentially taking it off the tax rolls. And then that's my biggest concern with this particular piece, and that's why, you know, I asked staff, and I tried to find other pieces of land that, you know, number one, we're actually more within the Southwest community, which I think would be a fantastic thing. We really would, it'd be great to put a school in the middle of the Southwest, and also we're not losing our ad valorem taxation off that property. So that's my biggest concern, you know. I just think that, you know, I think we could win both ways. I think we could get a bowling alley, which is a great quality of life thing. I think it brings people into our community, and still be able to have the opportunity to still build another school, but in a better location and in a more prime location. So that's kind of where I'm leaning at this particular time. You know, but again, I don't think I endorse either one of these outright as far as a proposal. I think that either way, whatever the majority of this council decides tonight, you know, I hope to see that we send it back to be negotiated with the city manager. I hope that, you know, we have the city manager or whatever we decide condition-wise and come back with a better deal than what's currently proposed, but we've got to give them direction as far as which one of these we want to do the most negotiation with. So that's kind of where I'm sitting right now.
Thank you. And as your chair, that's what I have in mind, and that is to vote up or down on the two applicants here tonight, and the one that we vote up will go back to the manager's office, and at that point the manager will go into a tight negotiation, and if you need to come back to us before the end of it, you give us a special call, we'll sit back down again and we'll vote it up or down. Okay? With that said, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a roll call vote. I'd like to vote first on the school. You vote yes for it, no. If you're not for it, then we'll vote on the bowling alley secondly.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
before we vote, I guess I want one statement.
Sure.
At the last meeting, I did talk about the choice between a school and a bowling alley, and how can you place a value on either one. What I see here tonight is I think about what one of the councilmen has said, and about school, where else could there be a potential for a school? And then you think about a bowling alley. If we don't get a bowling alley here, where else within the city can we have the ability to put a bowling alley if that's the direction that we want to go in? This RFP has been out for a long time. You know, from the very beginning when the bowling alley shut down, there was a public outcry for a bowling alley to be reinstated. And I think we were begging, going outside of this community, trying to get a reputable bowling alley company to come in and give us that aspect of entertainment that was so badly needed, and the residents had gotten used to having a bowling alley in the city. So ultimately, not that one project is better than the other. I see where else can we put a school versus where else could a bowling alley go. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, it's a yes if you want the school, it's no if you don't want it, and then we'll roll call vote for the second item.
Okay.
Is that okay? Everybody?
This is on the school, correct?
School, it's on the school.
First. Councilman Shelley?
No.
Councilwoman Nobles?
No.
Vice Mayor Warman?
No.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
No.
Mayor Bateman?
No.
Motion fails. On the bowling alley, Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
No.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So what we'd like for you to do... We would like for you to get with the Kaufman Group as soon as possible and try to iron out as many things as you can.
One other clarification, because I heard some reference to it tonight. If you'd like the staff to work with the school applicant for maybe possible acquisition of other sites, we could be happy to work with maybe finding an existing structure someplace that would work.
Most definitely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Most definitely. Please.
Please.
And please don't give up. You know, there are pieces out there. Okay, with that said, we're going to move on to the next item, which is just as a hot as item, the sports complex. The sports complex, please. We'll take a couple seconds to let everybody clear out, because I know there were a lot of bowling alley people here tonight. Yeah, 1 second. Just 1 second. 1 second. Let them all clear out. They're not going to hear you anyway. Just wait. No, I split it up. She's going to handle just the signage part. You're going to handle everything else. Everything else. She's strictly going to handle signage. She's done a lot of work before about that. No, you have hundreds of other things to look at. You got everything. You got the garbage, the trash can. But all these things in my hand. At this time, we'd like to call the meeting back to order here. Thank you for allowing that little bit of break. We're going to move on to the sports complex proposal, please. And at this time, I would like, with no objections from staff, I'd like to ask Lillet Sports to give their presentation first, as you gave yours second last time. So let's just alternate it, please.
Good evening, council members. Again, John Ruiz from Lillet Sports. I want to update you on what Lillet Sports has been doing since the last time that we met here. We met with the Boys and Girls Club over in the South Miami area, as well as in the Coconut Grove area. And they have already committed to bringing the Boys and Girls Club over to the Homestead complex. We met with them just last week. In addition to that, we already have the MMA Expo, which is between the 24th and the 26th of February. And that expo is supposed to bring about 30,000 people. It's a United States event, both MMA fighters as well as boxing. We met with Don King today, and the Don King production group is interested in affiliating themselves with our firm because we have all the transmission abilities through the channels that we already have transmitting. As we're sitting here today, we're transmitting 2 baseball games live right now, as well as about 11 other game-tracked games around the Tri-County area. We also have and got an approval as the only pilot program for Dade County Public Schools to transmit all sporting events in all Dade County Public Schools, which obviously would include the schools in Homestead. We've also gotten the rights from the Florida High School Athletic Association. We've been transmitting, we just transmitted last Friday, we transmitted the soccer game between Lourdes and Palmetto. That was at Tropical Park, and there were probably about 2,000 people there attending. We also have the rights from Udonis Haslam from the Miami Heat to hold basketball camps, as well as Joaquin Noah from the Chicago Bulls. And lastly, we're working on a contract with the University of Miami to air all of their baseball games that have not already been committed to Comcast or DirecTV. We think that from the time that we submitted the proposal the first time, it's actually grown substantially. And I can't divulge certain information, but there are big-time athletes that have shown an interest in investing in LaLaye Sports. We believe that LaLaye Sports will be the biggest entity in the entire United States with youth sports. We firmly believe that. We have at least 25 professional athletes that are willing to invest money, not just provide names. So because of that, I think that Homestead is the place that we envision that to occur. And we provided the financials for the company. We're a self-sufficient company. We don't need any financing. The numbers that we provided show that we can easily spend $300,000-$400,000 a month in surplus cash to go ahead and develop the facility the way that we want to. We've already been out there. We have all the fencing, cameras, hitter's eyes, from A through Z. We're ready to go. It's just basically we get the green light and we should be up and running between 45 to 60 days on the main complex. We also have a schedule of events. May 21st would be the date when we would have the largest ever Tri-County Athletic Award for grades 6 through 12. As some of you already know, the city of Miami has certain programs that they're trying to help the inner city kids, and we've agreed to go ahead and work with them to show them how to edit, broadcast, and do everything it is that we think that they can do to not only be off the streets, but to actually learn something as well. The University of St. Thomas has signed an agreement with us as well, where we're transmitting and broadcasting all their games. Baseball and other sports, as well as all of their students, have integrated with ourselves. We have schools like Ransom, Gulliver, Westminster Christian, Columbus. We're creating now the first book that's ever been created with every baseball player on every high school team, and that should be out this week. It should be printed on Friday. If it doesn't make it inside the Miami Herald, it will next week because of they have to insert it into the paper. So I'd like to address any questions that you may have. I see that there are some questions or some concerns, one of which was the appraisal price of the stadium, and that's something obviously unless we conduct an actual appraisal, there's no way to answer that one way or another. Then the actual lease that we had proposed is there. It says financing plan not provided. We did provide the financing plan. The financing plan is basically to pay it out of our own pockets for the entities that I now control. It says it did not address council's concern regarding parking overflow for speedway events. I think the last time we spoke, we don't think that there's going to be a problem where we're having an event at the raceway and an events at Homestead at the same time. So I don't believe that that's a concern at all. The way that our system works, it's generally not like the Speedway where you have maybe 60, 70, 80,000 people coming at one time. Our events, the traffic flows in and out. We also working with MK Tour, And we've already set out to reserve a number of the hotels here because during the summer we have over 1,000 some odd teams that have committed to come to the city of Homestead to play in the complex itself. But obviously we can't do any of that until we actually have something concretely signed off of by the city as well as our entity. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those now, and any questions as far as the proposal.
Mayor?
Yes, please.
Mine goes back to your financial, or your offer.
Yes.
On your original offer, it was, I believe, $15 million over 15 years. The other night when you were here, you spoke of $15 million in 3 to 5 years. And then tonight you give us a 10-year, 0 per month with purchase option for $16 million and/or renewable. So my question to you is, what happened to the $15 million in 3 to 5 years?
No, what it was is that I could close within 5 years for 15 million. This is a concrete number of 16 million where I can close at any point in time during that time period.
Or you can renew it at the term.
Correct.
0 per month until you so decide. And if I read it sideways correctly here on my page, you've got 2 renewable things, so actually over a 30-year period.
That's correct. It's basically an option to purchase for $16 million.
Right, over 30 years.
Over a 30-year period. At any point in time, I could close within that time period.
Right, or not.
Or not, that's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, I know at the last workshop I had a lot to say about as far as making sure there was a benefit to the community. I did see that in this next second proposal, you did provide 4 renovated fields for the public use, so I wanted to thank you for that. That makes me very happy to know that the public can still use part of that facility. Now, I still have an issue with the $0 a year, just as a matter of principle. I mean, at least offer $1 a year, that way we're not setting precedents of free. But I even $1 a year, I'd like to see more than that. I'd like to see a different offer. Or alternatively, what I guess my question tonight is what is your, how do you feel about maybe a revenue sharing type situation where after a certain number of years, the city, since we're essentially helping you guys in the front part, maybe we get some money at the backside. So where we do revenue, once you make a certain amount of money, because I think you have a very good plan and hopefully you can accomplish all these things, so you're going to make a lot of money. And so I think it's only fair that the city gets to share in some of that success going forward. So I wanted to know what your position on was.
We're not opposed to that, except that the one factor that's missing there is that we're going to be building a football field for football, lacrosse, an additional 8 baseball fields, an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So you're looking probably at an additional investment of $6, $7, $8 million, and we're improving the property. So whereas if we have to revenue share, then at some point in time the city would have to join in and pay for some of that or help finance some of that. So, and I'm not sure that the city wanted to be in that position. So as far as being able to listen to that, yes, but that would be, I think, counterproductive in that the more we give up on that side, the less ability we will have to build the additional pieces that we want to build on there.
No, I understand that. It's not necessarily a revenue sharing from day one. It may be, say, year 10, all of a sudden it kicks in because you guys are up and running, everything's, your infrastructure's in place, you've paid most of all that stuff back, and now all of a sudden, now we're saying, okay, you want to renew, now we want our cut. Now we're going to get paid on the back end, you guys are already taken care of. So I'm not saying in hard terms, but what I'm saying is that maybe something better than the $0 a year. So just as a secondary option, where it's up front as well, and at the end, maybe the city still gets it.
I mean, if it's set out 10 years out where we're able to, basically you got to capitalize all these expenditures. I mean, we're looking at, we put on there an estimated 1.7 million, but it may go a little bit over that depending on how sophisticated we want to make it as far as the camera equipment and so forth.
Thank you.
Yes, please, Ms. Feisner.
One of my biggest faults or best traits is I take copious notes. And I took some notes the last time. And it was, as Mr. Burgess said, it was a, and I left my notepad at home, so I'm doing this all from memory. But it was a 5-year buyout, 15 million with a 5-year buyout with option money put up. Also, I have a question, is that and that is that you had said that you were going to bring 267 employees and an additional 200 employees in the summertime.
The 267 employees is what I have now. The 200 is the additional we will bring during the summertime, that's correct.
Okay, but in your proposal, it says create nearly 100 full-time, part-time jobs.
Full-time versus part-time, there's two different facets to that. And the risk is that the more advanced we get to the summertime, then the more difficult it becomes because all these teams commit early.
Okay.
So, between the end of end of February, early March, if they haven't made a commitment, they'll go elsewhere. So, kind of like time is of the essence to be able to get this up and running.
And isn't it, this is for staff, and I hope somebody here that can answer this question. Isn't it true that if you have a 30-year lease with an option, that you can immediately, as soon as it's signed and closed, that you can immediately start deducting that building from your tax returns because it's considered an owned entity, if it's 30 years, with an option, with option money? I'm pretty sure it is.
Appreciating the building?
Yeah. In other words, they'll be able to write that building off. Yeah.
I don't know.
Which is not, I mean, it's, I'm not saying that's not a good thing, that if it happens, I mean, it'd be good for you, because you'll put more money back into our city, I know you will. But I just want to clarify that if it's a 30-year lease with option money, I believe tax laws say that you can immediately start to use that building as a deduction.
For tax purposes, is that what you're referring
Just
to?
on your tax returns. Use it as a write-off. Write off
I'm
your
not,
expenses.
but I don't think they could write off the entire amount in 1 year.
No, but I mean, as
It's
a...
depreciable over,
Yeah.
however, the life of the building.
Okay. Also, my question is, it says we'll pay ad valorem taxes estimated at $250,000, and that would be at closing. Would closing be when we, pin the agreement, the contract, if the county were to deem that facility would be owing, since we would have this agreement, if the county deemed that they would owe us dollars, it would be upon the lease agreement, correct? The inking of the, okay, just want to make sure. And I agree with Mr. Shelley. I would like to see something a month. I know that we have, you say, invest $1.7 million to upgrade city-owned property, and I would like a timeline for repairs, if that would be okay.
We set that out in the proposal.
Was it in the proposal?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see it. Okay, and I wanted to ask Parks and Rec, if 4 fields, is that enough for us? Would that be enough to handle?
The 4 fields that we use now is for the men's league, softball league, and we also use them for the soccer league right now. So, of course, we use the outfields of the 4 fields plus what's the other fields that we had before. So we'll be losing that on the soccer fields. So I would say 4 wouldn't be enough. 4, we would need more than 4 for us.
But soccer fields, we're going to have soccer fields at Roscoe Warren Park, correct?
Correct, 4 of them.
So would you maybe be willing to work with the city on that during our league time?
Well, the problem is you can't use baseball fields for soccer because it destroys the field. And it's actually a little bit dangerous right now the way that it sits because there's a lot of coral out there. So we have to redo those fields. I mean, somebody falls down there, they're going to scrape their skin right off. And that's the problem with the wear and tear in the outfield. So I don't know that those fields are really made for soccer. In fact, they're not. I know that they get used like that. But that's a problem because there's a lot of money that has to be invested to bring those fields up to playing conditions.
Okay.
And that wear and tear destroys the field as far as that part of it is concerned.
I've done a lot of research on your company, and I know that you are a proven company. I know that you have been in the community for a long time, and you've done your due diligence. What you say is true. again, as I said before, you know, the lady sat out there for a long time and nobody wanted her, and now, you know, she's got some suitors. So I just want to make sure that she gets the right suitor. Thank you.
We're ready for her. Thank you.
She's expensive.
I'm used to that.
One more quick question. if I could.
Put a big necklace around her.
One more question. One more. Going back to the financials, is what you propose set in stone, or if you were to get the nod tonight, is that negotiable, and we could perhaps go back to one of your other proposals?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, it needs to work for us, and it needs to work for the city. If it's too lopsided, it's not going to work for either entity, so it's no good. So what we want is for a product that's going to succeed. And in order for it to succeed, especially within the first 10 years, you have to have the ability to spend money, bring people, because it's like anything else. I mean, I've run a lot of businesses before.
But there's a big difference between 10 and 30 years, so I'm just trying to see if we can...
Absolutely. I mean, we can definitely iron those things out.
Okay.
You have to keep in mind that the benefit to the city, as far as all the businesses are concerned, is super substantial. And the fact that we've spoken to large companies that would most probably open up other facilities right next door to it is also advantageous. You know, we have, like Alex Fernandez said, that he would open up a strike zone within the facility. I've got Subway that wants to open up inside the facility. So there's substantial upside for the city as a whole, as well as the businesses. Plus, what we do from the advertising perspective, and I know a lot of you have seen now how we air all of the games, it's really an enormous growth, and, you know, a lot of attention to this city, not just from local teams, but from national teams, and bringing in teams. And we just opened up 2 days ago the agency side to LA Sports, and now we're already representing a number of professional baseball players negotiating contracts with Major League Baseball.
Mayor?
Yes.
On the point Councilman Burgess made, there's one nagging question for us in terms of the price for the auction to purchase, and that is, we don't really know what the property is worth. So if it's the will of the council, we'd like to initiate an appraisal, so at least we have some basis for that sale price.
Okay. Mr. Sounds like, yes, Mr. Shelley.
And just to kind of, I guess on that same note, you know, based on what Councilman Burgess said and some other things, is again, just kind of like the last thing, what I would like to see, I mean, at least what I would like to see is that if we choose one of these particular parties tonight, that at that point we give the city manager an opportunity to sit down, iron out a deal, push back a little bit, and try to get the best deal possible, and then come back and if we need to massage it from there or whatever we vote on. So I'd like to see that possibly happen.
Mayor.
You know, to answer Mr. Shelley really quick, that's how it's going to go. The same way the first bowling alley and the school went, is that we'll vote them up or down, and the one that receives the nod tonight, you will work with them and get the best you can of them. Bring it back to us. We'll do a final vote. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, maybe Marlene would know this. When was the last appraisal done? Didn't we have an appraisal done a few years ago? It's been quite a while. Has it been quite a while? Okay. All right.
Okay. Any further questions of the applicant? Okay, hearing none, you take your seat, and
Thank you.
Applicant number 2, you're on.
Hi, Mike Pagliarulo, 2024 Tiburon Way, Naples, Florida. Here with my crew, and apologize to my partner here. His son's playing a game tonight, South Dade, so scrimmage game. I think this is a very important issue. I think this is a unique situation, and with all due respect to the other group that's bidding, and I don't know too much about them, but you know, if we were bidding on a TV studio, I would say give it to them. But this is a professional baseball stadium, and no one should ever forget that. And this is why we created the Sports Embassy, and I'm going to tell you exactly what we've done in the last 4 months. You know, our company's made up of four components which were represented by community service, real estate development, professional and amateur sports, and immigration. And for a reason, it's structured this way. We've created in the last 4 months partnerships with Miami-Dade Big League Baseball. They're a league that's going to come play at this facility. There's no doubt about that. They're going to play at least 110 games. We have the World Baseball Federation. It's another league that they're going to play games that we've contracted with at our facility. We've contracted with the Heroes in Pinstripes. It's a fantasy baseball league started by Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford in 1985. They're going to play here, and we're going to chop that down and make it weekends we could play more often and have them here more often. I think the stadium could use some high-profile name recognition. Sports Care One is our partner, Sports Rehab, and this is a group that we're going to work with our sports research and hopefully with Baptist Hospital. The Heroes for Heroes Foundation we just started, and this was due to the unfortunate incident with the policemen that were gunned down. And I was recently up in New York, and we got a call that these kids wanted to visit the Hall of Fame. I met with the president of the Hall of Fame, and he's willing to partner with us and the Miami-Dade County Police Force. And we're going to run fundraisers every month, all of which will benefit local charities. On Thursday night, I met with the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They're very interested in our international investment in Homestead and also Miami-Dade County. Business development, we represent a self-contained Jewish community which would increase the tax base here, and they're interested in moving to Florida. We're going to create the Embassy Village. Embassy Village is we want to accommodate our international families and sports teams. We're going to use our resources from which our previous business has been. The other thing we have is our Sports Embassy Pitching Academy, which we're going to set the standard for all Major League pitchers to join up in this business that we've just begun. This is going to be, tomorrow we're going to have 3 Major League pitchers on board: Willie Frazier, Brian Harvey, and Marcel Latchman. He's a coach with the Colorado Rockies. We're going to have, by the end of the summer, we'll have 50 Major League pitchers. That's going to set the standard for how pitchers are going to pitch. This is going to be done at the stadium. It's going to be our home base. We'd like it to be our home base. Our financial partners, Executive National Bank, have Cranny Insurance, and we also have private investors from professional baseball. I think that there are some of the things that we were concerned about from the city. We're not really sure exactly what the city would like, and I would like to hear more about what the city liked, because if we're a team, we've got to work together, and we have to know what it is that you want. It's a very difficult question to ask, but there was a lot of research done in planning when that stadium was built, and I want to know if it's on the same line as that, or you want to make it a high school field or a college field. It's very important to our project because we want to make sure we represent the people of Homestead the way they want to be represented, and it's very, very important to us, and we don't want to represent the wrong thing here. So we want to reflect what you believe and what you want. I think that was about it. If we had any other questions, it would be, basically, if you've done any homework or if you've done research on the stadium itself and figured out how you'd like to see revenue driven out of there, I'd like to know more about that. We've not had any conversation about that, and we'd like to know more. That would help us and be a very, very productive partner. That is it. If we had any other comments, anything else? Oh, one of our partners.
Good evening. Tom David, I'm here on behalf of Miami-Dade Big League Baseball. I have a law office here in Homestead, 381 North Chrome Avenue, Suite 200. Just a little bit background on Miami-Dade Big League Baseball. This is a league that provides opportunities for local students to participate in baseball and reach their dreams of going to either college or to the pros. And as a matter of fact, they gave me a sheet earlier, and there's actually 2 Homestead kids that actually made it, one to a university in Tennessee. His name is Jonathan Herrera, and Eric Camacho, who went to Oklahoma based on getting exposed through the Miami-Dade Big League Baseball program. The idea of one of the things that's kind of interesting to me, I didn't actually know that this went on until I met my clients, and that is that a lot of baseball players, if you are the top end baseball players, you're found. The scouts, they find you. There's a lot of kids that come out that can get into the major leagues or get to college baseball, but they don't have the skill set necessary, and they need to learn someplace. That's what Miami-Dade Big League Baseball does here in Dade County. Has done that for 5 years. The Miami-Dade Big League Baseball program is, as a board of directors, without over 100 years of coaching experience among their people. So what they would be doing as part of this program is to provide a sports league for local players. And again, those who do well may earn, and some have already earned, scholarships and tryouts with professional teams. Mike has a copy of the kids that are registered in Homestead, and it's a fairly substantial number. There's actually a team that will be set up that will be the Homestead team that will play the teams from Dade County and South Florida. One of the side benefits of this is that people in Homestead, those who are interested in watching baseball, will get to see what is almost professional baseball of local kids playing. And they can attend at our facility here in Homestead for a very low cost, and I think that's kind of exciting as an entertainment option. So we're very excited about what these gentlemen are bringing to the community. We're excited about participating in it. And I'm particularly excited about the idea that this facility, which I actually was working in the city many, many years ago when it was under construction, would be used for the purpose that it was built, which was to showcase professional baseball in Deep South Dade. And it's kind of bizarre to me at this point that we're talking about kind of taking it off into several other directions. My son plays lacrosse, so I would love to see a lacrosse facility here, but that's not what that facility was designed for. I think we paid $17, $18 million to put that facility together, to lay it out according to the instructions of the Baltimore Orioles at the time. It was the Cleveland Indians that gave that leased the facility from the city and then broke the lease. But the Baltimore Orioles basically laid out that whole facility as a training complex for professional baseball. So I would love to see that come back, and I think it's still viable. So we're very proud to be part of this group, and we think it's your best option.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question. Since we're on the topic of what baseball is and what baseball isn't, what is the housing development component of your proposal? How does it tie into what your mission is?
First, we have to establish a facility, our headquarters, and then we're going to encourage our international resources, ownership in Venezuelan League, Dominican, Puerto Rico, and Mexico. We're going to encourage Koreans. The plan that's going on in St. Petersburg now between the Koreans and the Netherlands is my plan that I proposed in Sarasota in 2009. That's the same thing we want to do here. So we need to have someplace to put them, to house them. That's why we have Frank Castro with us. He's built most of the homes here.
Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Burgess.
Oh, this thing was tilted correctly. On, it says to maintain the fields. I guess my first question through the mayor and the manager to our Parks and Rec gentleman. Dennis, what do you think to maintain, and I have no idea what it would take to maintain those fields and the sports complex to a level that these people are seeking, but they're only looking to reimburse us to $500,000 per year. Do you believe that we could maintain and the city wouldn't lose any money at $500,000 a year? I mean,
Councilman Burgess.
as a professional stadium.
Councilman Burgess, I mean, right now, the outside part is done by SFM, which is, I think, $31,000 a year. We maintain the inside, and we barely do most of it. So I would probably be like you, would probably be a little bit more than that.
I guess
Councilman, I think it could be substantially more depending on the standards that they set. The city I used to work for before, we used to maintain a spring training field, and it was extremely expensive because the standards were very high.
So that's exactly why we're trying to figure out what the city wants. You want a major league field there? You want a major league team there? You want professional baseball
Well,
there?
I mean, obviously, what you're trying to propose is a class, a class project, and I don't you know, and your proposal that you guys gave says you will only pay up to $500,000. I would have hoped in your proposal that you would have maxed it out and brought it to the standards of what it needed and not put any more liability on the city. And myself, I don't see how $500,000 a year would maintain a professional baseball stadium even of that size. I think it would be significantly higher. And then that burden, according to your proposal and all, of course, that's not the final contract. But, you know, with your proposal there, what I'm going on tonight would leave the city with a big financial responsibility in my eyes.
Well, we won't, that won't happen. We haven't even looked at the field yet. I mean, we need to really inspect that field. I mean, it costs about $800,000 to get a major league field in there, and that's what we're prepared to do. We want to handle the maintenance. We want to handle every bit of the maintenance, and we don't want the city to pay a dime. We want to help the city. We want to use that burden in any way we can.
Yeah, I understand what you say tonight, but in what I've been reading all weekend, your proposal is different, a little bit different than, the version's a little different than what you're speaking tonight.
If it makes the council feel any better, we would take over the full obligation of bringing the field up to Major League Baseball and then work out a number from there if there's a lease payment, that there should be actual cash in the coffers.
Mayor.
And council members, that was our initial proposal, that we would take over that liability. And the numbers actually, Mrs. Waldman and I discussed it, and we're right on the money. So well, that's what we mentioned the first time around.
But that was,
And we're not changing that proposal.
yeah, that was just, as we call it, lipstick and rouge. I mean, that was just the bare maintenance. But are you finished, Mr. Pershing?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Ma'am?
Go ahead, please.
My question is, why do you want the city to maintain it at all? Because I think, well, you're going to maintain it yourself, correct?
No. What we did was put in the proposal in the beginning, when we were starting to talk, was that if the city wanted to have a certain amount of number rent and they were willing to maintain the field, they could come and we could work out a number based on that. If you want us to take over complete maintenance, we're more than ready to take over that maintenance, and we'll work out a number that would be fair on a yearly basis that would go to Homestead.
And what was your figure? Because, I mean...
If you had brought your notebook that you took copious notes of last time.
Well, please, sir, don't... You don't even know what I was going to ask you.
Oh, I'm
so.
sorry. I thought you were asking me what our offer was last time. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Okay, I'll reserve my questions for later. Thank you.
Okay, further questions? Yes? No questions? Mr. Shelley? Okay, thank you very much. We're going to roll call, and we're going to take Lele Sports first.
Mayor, I just wanted to also point out we had a third proposal which was in there, so just like I did for the last one, just throw it on the table.
I don't think it's appropriate at this time. I didn't let anybody else. There was another applicant here asked to speak, and I told him no. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to roll call vote.
Councilman Shelley?
And this is just to go forward to the
Lele.
to let the manager.
This is Lele. Narrowed it down 2-1, correct?
2-1.
Councilman Yes.
Lele. We're voting yes to approve it, no to not approve it, okay?
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lobos?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, then.
Did you?
Yes, he did.
Sports Embassy?
He voted yes.
No, this is for,
Sports Embassy? Vice Mayor Warman?
No.
Councilman Burgess?
No.
Councilwoman Lobos?
No.
Councilman Maldonado?
No.
Councilman Shelley?
No.
Mayor Bateman?
yes.
Motion fails.
Thank you. Okay, you're free to negotiate, and, you know, I think we didn't put a time limit on, but it'd be nice if we had a time limit that this doesn't drag out for more than 30 days. You know, a time limit.
Well, Mayor, we didn't have a time limit on the bowling alley either.
I know, it worries me.
Get the negotiations
Oh, I'm
going.
sure they want to open up right away.
Okay.
We'll do the best we can to get it to you as quickly as we can.
Yeah, you know how they could get laid out.
Absolutely, we understand.
Okay, thank you very much.
We'll have somebody call you tomorrow and set up the schedule so we can get this thing done.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, the next item, tab 6, the proposed K through 12 educational facility campus with the Homestead POC.
One second.
Thank you, both of you. Staff report.
Mayor, on February 2nd, 2011, staff received a letter from Doug LLC requesting assistance from the city in proceeding with development plans for a proposed K-12 educational facility campus to be located with the Homestead Park of Commerce. Doug LLC is the owner of 37 acres within the HPOC and is currently interested in moving forward with the first phase in developing the educational facility campus. Phase 1 will consist of approximately 9.15 acres. Currently, Doug LLC has filed an application for site plan with the city and is in the process of filing an OPC to the Village of Homestead, DRI. The applicant is here if you would like to hear his request.
Okay, you want to give us a little info, or you want questions and comments? What's the pleasure of the council?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, please.
When we did the discussion with the Key State Charter School, and we went over, both sides and all sides and around and about, I said on the record that I hope that we would be as willing to work with you as we were willing to work with Mr. Hay. And so I support your school, and I hope that all will work out in that section of the world. All will work out.
Thank
Mayor?
you.
Yes, Mr. Shaw.
I have a legal question, if that's okay. This has come up in the past with the City of Homestead, discussions about a school in the Park of Commerce, and at that time we had legal counsel, and it was in your opinion, Mr. Weiss, that that was not possible. So where is it that you stand today on a high school within the Park of Commerce?
Not possible.
I'm going to let James address that.
It says vocational.
Yes, Councilman Lewis. In the past, the Homestead Park of Commerce, the Rockefeller Master Plan, says educational facilities are allowed use. Previously, the city administration had taken the position that educational facilities meant that it would not be a traditional K through 12 school, that it was meant to be the type of educational facility that was more technical in training, one that matches the industrial and commercial nature of the Park of Commerce. That completely is a policy decision it's not a legal issue, it's a policy decision primarily for this council to choose whether or not they want to interpret the master plan when it says educational facilities to mean those technical type of educational facilities, or if it wants to open the door to K through 12 schools.
Mayor, if I may continue.
Please.
So you're saying that there was a council vote that set the policy that we would not accept something like this within the Park of Commerce?
No, that's not what I said. I just said that it was the previous determination by the city manager and planning director a couple years ago. This question it's not a new question, this question comes up every couple of years. The last time that we were asked about it, we simply said that to the administration, that they should seek policy direction, that it was a policy decision for you all to make with regard to that.
Right, this is something that's completely within the council discretion as to how you, under the law, are responsible for interpreting your master plan. Initially, the master plan is interpreted by your staff. The staff direction that we had gotten from the planning staff and from the prior manager was that it was not appropriate, but this council has the ability to change the interpretation of the master plan and how they're looking at those words, educational facility, and determine that a K through 12 is within the approval of the master plan, or you can stick with the old definition and say that it was meant for a more technical school, but it's within the discretion of the council.
Mayor, the reason why I'm having this conversation, and I don't mean to take up Mr. Rosen's time, is that, and the prior Director of Development Services and the city manager that we're speaking of are not here today to give us what whose direction they were seeking. And it was my understanding that at that time, that the attorneys were the one that were proposing that that's the interpretation. Now, it never came to vote on the dais at the council whether we would approve or whether we would interpret that to mean an education facility like we're seeing today within the Park of Commerce. So I just want to make that clear. I know sometimes we have the tendency to say what was interpreted before, especially when we speak of items that have been discussed at this level before. And so I just want to make it clear. I am open to whatever is going to be presented today, but it was drilled into me that it was the legal interpretation that this was not to happen. So I'm going to now dispose of that opinion that was given to me a couple of years ago and be open to whatever is presented today.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, if I could just respond, I mean, I don't recall having any conversation with you, Councilwoman, but if that's what staff was telling you, it's, you know, certainly that's not been our view. We've always said to staff that it's a policy matter as to how that's interpreted, and it's never been a legal determination either from James or I, and we're the only ones that are really talking about it, that that's a legal determination. I mean, that you may have been told that, but I don't believe that's correct.
Mr. Mayor?
Just think we could have had schools before now. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on this particular issue, you know, when we had the Keysgate Charter School come before us, you know, I'd actually proposed to put that school in the Park of Commerce rather than have it at its current location. So I do support, you know, looking into the idea of putting a school there in that Park of Commerce. Now, I just want clarification, though, because we have no site plan in front of us. We have no real proposal. We have nothing here looking at it. All we're doing is we're just giving you direction to allow this to go forward, but we've not committed to anything such that if we later see a site plan we don't approve of, we're bound to something, correct? I just want to make sure I know exactly what I'm
Right, and they
doing
need
tonight.
to get through the process with the state, so we didn't want to be assisting them with their state process if it wasn't the will of the council to at least have us assist them.
Okay.
You're not really pre-approving anything, you're just basically saying, staff, it's okay to work with them, to try to get them through the state process, and then everything comes back to you, and certainly you can say no at that
But at that point to actually see the details. So we're just saying the idea of it sounds good, and later if he gets approval, then it'll come before us to put meat and potatoes on it or whatever we want to do with it.
Yes.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Anything further from council? Hearing nothing further from council, we'll take a vote on it.
No, this isn't one of those items where we
Okay,
needed
good.
guidance from you.
Okay, you've
We've
got the
gotten-
guidance. Mr. Rosen, thank you very much.
I'd like to ask, I have a request to see if there's some way, Mr. Manager, that we can get I don't know what it's called, but probably a special exception to put modulars in the industrial park so that we could have a place for the Somerset kids that don't have a school to go to next year. The property is filled, it's got water and sewer to site, we just have to do a little grading and put a parking lot and set up some sort of temporary use.
I'll tell you, we'll look into it, and I'll give you a call tomorrow.
That can't be something that the council could direct tonight?
Well,
The most that they could do is direct us to look into it. I honestly don't know the rules regarding modulars. We'd look into it and see if the council wants us to look into that, we could do it. That's the most that they could do tonight.
What size, how many, does it fall within the school board regulations, and et cetera, et cetera?
Right.
I have no problem with that.
I have no problem with you looking into it.
Okay. So we'll look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, tab 7, landscape and irrigation on Campbell Drive. Motion to move it forward. Okay, second. Thank you, John. Staff report.
Mayor, the city wishes to establish an improvement contract by means of sealed bids for landscape and irrigation on Campbell Drive from Southwest 152nd Avenue to Southwest 137th Avenue. All work shall be performed within the limits of existing state, local right-of-way, and all improvements shall be constructed and installed within said limits. The item recommends the award of landscaping and irrigation improvements in the amount of $136,000 to D&D Tree Farms, and the vendor will have 180 calendar days from the notice to proceed to complete the project.
Awesome. And we have questions from council. I've got one. Do we have, on these projects, and I feel compelled to ask now at this level instead of waiting till after the fact, and and try to go out and do inspections with different people, but do we have someone who is knowledgeable in this field that is going to be able to go out and inspect these projects as they move along, not at the end, but as they move along, for the diameter, the height, the qualification? There are tricky things about different, you're talking, we have, over $500,000 of landscape going in the ground in irrigation. There are certain things that came in those landscape bids that we need somebody with that type of knowledge that can go out there and measure the diameter and the way the tree's pruned and cut.
We have a commitment from staff to monitor this, but I'll ask the question as to expertise.
Didn't we have a gentleman last year that does specialize in irrigation?
Just an arbor specialist, a guy who knows trees, and you don't buy a tree that's already diseased or something.
Mayor, council, city manager, most of our projects are landscaping now. We have a project manager, and we have Lewis is our project manager. He oversees everything that's done by the scope of work. So it'll all be done by them.
But is this gentleman, Lewis, is he qualified in landscape material?
Well, what we can do is we can ask we can actually contact the architect that did the design for this project, that's their specialty, is landscape architecture, to have periodic, what we call limited field services, so that they can go in and ensure that the right type of plants and the right size and the right diameter and all that is taken care of in a timely manner.
That's a good answer. I think that a job I just finished myself, the toughest inspection I had was the architect who came in, caused, brought up a lot of good points. I mean, when you get the person who drew the plans and actually walked out on more than one occasion, you're going to get what you paid for. Okay? Thank you. Yes, sir.
I just want to echo on the same concern. When I first saw that the price was so low, that was one of my questions I had for the city manager as well, was, how are they going to be able to perform this when some of the other people who are very familiar with that type of landscaping are so much higher? So I just wanted to make sure that we had safeguards in place, so that if they are able to meet that, which I hope they are because that saves us a lot of money, but that they are actually meeting the criteria that we put out as part of the bid, and so that kind of answered that question. That makes me feel more comfortable as well.
I could add some clarification to that as well regarding the amount that the bid came in at. We had done with the architect before the project went out to bid a cost estimate. They came in at 126, and we added a 10% contingency, which made it go up to 130. But it's within the range of what 7 of the 9 proposers were in that same range.
Okay, with no further questions, all in favor? Aye. Nays? Motion carries. Okay, C, item C, we're skipping, the tab 8 has been removed. C, motion to place, this was a bid for a pump and electric motor repairs. Motion to move, second?
Second.
Okay, staff report.
Mayor, this item recommends authorization of as-needed pump and electric motor repair services for the electric utility and public works departments from TAW Miami Service Center, Florida Bearings Inc., and Condo Electric Motor Repair Inc. for term commencing on February 17, 2011 through September 30, 2013, pursuant to bids issued on December 17, 2010, and sent to 755 potential bidders. Multiple vendors were selected to perform project tasks in accordance with submitted hourly rates on bid tabulation in an amount not to exceed $164,125.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. Next item, tab 10. Change orders for 1735 North GoldenEye Lane, as in related to bid number 201005. Entertain a motion? Second?
Second.
Thank you. Staff report.
Mayor, this item recommends authorization to approve a change order from Design Build Inter-American as it relates to bid 201005 Neighborhood Stabilization Program, Housing Rehabilitation, Demolition, and Replacement Project. The estimate for the work is attached and totals $9,966.
Questions, comments?
Just a quick comment if I could.
Sure.
I'd like to say thank you to George and his staff for, I think, this new way that these things come out make it much easier for me to read and understand exactly what we're doing, the way that the agenda is now written. So thank you to everybody that worked on that.
Thanks, sir.
Other than that, nothing else.
Thank you very much.
Ma'am.
Yes, please.
I thought this was really a high bid myself. I know that kitchen very well because I lived in that house 25 years ago while my house was being finished. For about 4 months.
You got inside knowledge.
I got inside knowledge.
Yeah, this is Judy's.
And no, I just lived there while my house was being done. So, but I thought it was pretty high because if it's still the same kitchen that I knew, which is in the middle, I don't know. I just thought it was high for plywood, pre-finished doors, and I don't understand what general conditions for $2,100 is. You know, I just thought that was a little high. I'm fine with it. I'll go with it, but I just wondered where we're getting these bids. You know. And it's just the kitchen. It's not the bathrooms or anything. It's just the kitchen, right?
That's correct. This contractor was one that won the original bid for this property. When the original bid number 201005, they were approved as part of that bid. So we just stuck with the same contractor that had already done the other improvements to the house. I could get additional quotes if you would like.
No, it's okay. I'm just saying that I just wonder what that means. General conditions, $2,100. I don't know what that means because then they're charging us for demolition of the existing cabinets, the electrical work, the plumbing work. Plumbing work, $1,210, and plumbing is already there. I'm looking at Tom. He's my go-to person when it comes to construction questions.
You're right. Just connection. Just
Yeah.
What we could do is, it's your pleasure, is that we could get some additional quotes, leave it on the agenda, and if we see anomalies, we'll ask to withdraw it or substitute it.
I'm proud of you. I should have caught that.
Yeah, what's wrong with it? Well, I would be happy if Tom would just go out there and look at it. You know, because he knows.
He's got another note to do.
He's the one that gave me all the notices that was built in my house.
It's possible that it just was, it could be high, and maybe we should get another quote or two before the next meeting. If you're comfortable with that.
Maybe clarify what that $2,100
That's fine.
covers.
Okay. We'll pass on it. Okay.
You didn't know I did construction.
That's right. I like that. It's okay. You're embarrassing me up here, Judy.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. Here we go. Tab 11.
Do we need to vote?
Did we vote on that one?
We didn't vote, sir.
No. Let's vote to table it.
No, vote to move it ahead, and if there's a problem, we'll put it off the agenda. If the bid's not right, we'll put it off the agenda.
We're going to go out and get other bids and still move it ahead. Okay. Motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. Okay. Where are we at?
Tab 11.
Tab 11. Here we go. Council agenda equipment.
I'll move it.
Okay, motion. Move it. Second.
Second.
Staff report.
Mayor, this item recommends approval of a resolution to waive competitive bidding requirements as set forth by City Code and authorize the city manager to approve the attached equipment rental budget in the amount of $110,856 to ensure that environmental wetland mitigation work proceeds in accordance with Corps of Engineer permit requirements. This award covers anticipated rental fees for heavy equipment required to perform the mitigation work at the property located south of Southwest 344 Street as per Corps of Engineers permit requirements.
Is that the piece the county wants? Give it to them before we do it.
This will be part of that.
That's part of the piece they want, right?
Yes.
Well, we're spending $120,000 on it. Could
That's
save
just equipment rental.
You could save the money and just let them have it. All right, staff, we got the questions, comments? Had mine. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. Next item.
Please shows that it passed by more than a two-thirds vote. Elizabeth. Required a two-thirds vote, and it passed unanimously.
Okay.
Roll call.
It was unanimous, wasn't it? Unanimous? Yeah, okay, we're good. He says, make sure it shows that it was two-thirds vote. Okay, item F, motion to place card number 30 on council agenda, purchase super cans and recycling cans. Entertain a motion to move it on. Motion. Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Staff report.
Mayor, this item recommends approval in the attached resolution for the purchase of garbage and recycling containers for city residents from Otto Environmental Systems in the amount of $46,225.28. The super cans and recycling cans the city currently owns were purchased from this vendor. This will facilitate the use of spare parts since all of the cans will be identical.
Okay, questions, comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. Okay, Park and Recs Committee Landscape Maintenance Final Extension. Entertain a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, bid number 200801. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Staff report.
This item recommends rejection of all bids that were advertised on December 17, 2010 for landscaping maintenance, as these bids came in higher than the approved fiscal year 2010-11 budgeted amount. Staff is also asking for a final extension of an existing contract for 1 year for an approval of the amount of $443,691 through September 30th, 2011.
Okay, questions, comments? I have one, and that is, Dennis, you did a great job with them over the last year. Hopefully the conversations that you've had and the things that you have found that they were not doing, and they agreed they were not doing, the manager and I both have rode the town a couple times, and we agree that you should not have to tell them how to do their job. And we're going to give them like a 1, 2, 3 strikeout. If they don't do their job, we're going to find somebody to do it. But if their job is to replace X amount of trees, and they replace them. Their job is to fertilize, they fertilize. Their job is to trim, they trim. And I tell you, council, they weren't doing it. And they agreed, the owner agreed, and said, oh my God, I can't believe we've been doing work like that. Go out there and one hedge is cut 3 foot high and one hedge is cut 3.5 foot high, right next to each other. Now finally, hopefully customer service it appreciates what I did over there, but I at least got the hedge cut one level and they replaced all the dead ones, right? But it was just no reason to pay them over $400,000 and not get what you're paying for. You know, nice enough people. And they were really willing and ready to change once they realized that Dennis and I rode around and looked at the contract and they weren't doing their job. So I appreciate what you do, Dennis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Nays? Item carries. Thank you. Okay, here is additional of 3 inmate crews. Discussion, a motion to move it on? Okay.
Mayor, this is more of a discussion item than it is an action item for the next meeting. Basically, staff is recommending 3 additional inmate crews to its current operation. The new crews will be responsible for enhancing current beautification efforts and ensuring a consistent and uniform level of service throughout the city. The labor cost for the remaining fiscal year will be approximately $78,475 plus a one-time equipment and vehicle cost of $118,434 for a total of $196,909. The 3 inmate crews will enable the city to provide service to all major corridors on a daily basis. If the direction of the council is to move forward on this, we put an application in with the state, bring back contracts for your approval and for budget transfers from the stormwater fund in order to make this thing happen, and also approval for equipment purchases as well.
Okay, can I start off with the first one?
Yeah, I just said it.
Okay. No, usually I let you, I'm last, but you look at one crew. How many men will come with one crew?
It's the 5 plus the...
Yes, Mayor, Council, City Manager. It comes with 1 guard and 5 inmates, 1 crew.
1 guard and 5 inmates, and that one crew roughly costs us how much?
$58,000 a year.
$58,000. What does one employee with the truck cost us in the QRT right now?
My QRT runs two-man crews. We're paying over $112,000.
For 2 men and a truck?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
My comment is, I'm just glad to see this. I brought this up several years back, and for whatever reason, it never made it through, but I think there's no better labor. I think these people work hard when they're out there, and I think as we try to sell this city and move it forward and make it nicer to the eye, I think that this will make big strides, and I think it will help the code enforcement as they go through and pick up signs that are not supposed to be there, the snipe signs and things like that, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, with that said, all in favor? Aye. Any nays? Item carries. Okay, additional, I did that already. Okay, item 15. Motion to place council under the 3rd Annual Biscayne Everglades Greenway Bike Festival. Motion to move it forward?
I'll move it.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, staff.
Mayor, this item recommends that the mayor and council approve the city's co-sponsorship and waiver of usage fees in the amount of $500 for the Community Center Banquet Hall for the 3rd Annual Biscayne Everglades Greenway Bike Festival on April 2nd and 3rd, 2011. There would be no charge to the city for the co-sponsorship of the event. According to the city's code, Chapter 20, Section 2011, fees and charges, the city council has the right to waive parks and recreational fees by the majority of the votes.
Mayor, I'll just say that I wanted to start the run, or the ride, in Homestead and end it in Homestead. And last year we had to end it in Florida City, and the year before that. So we want to start and finish, and I think it'd be a fine way to show off our new community center. So I appreciate the support.
Oh, wonderful. That's a great idea. Okay, so any other questions? Council? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Item carries. Okay, number 16, the Motorola service agreement. Motion to move it forward?
So moved.
Second. Staff.
Mayor, this item recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution and authorize the city manager to enter into a service agreement with Motorola for the repair, advance, replacement as needed of the VHF Quanto repeater and receivers in the amount of $91,352.04. Term of this agreement is for a period of 1 year, February 1st, 2011 through January 31st, 2012.
Yeah.
Questions, council? Hearing none, motion? Excuse me, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Motion carries. Item carries. Tab 17, motion to place number 36 on council agenda, purchase of police vehicles.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Okay, staff?
Mayor, this item recommends the mayor and council approve the motion to authorize the city manager to purchase 17 vehicles for the police department consisting of 15 2011 Ford Crown Victoria patrol vehicles and a 2011 Ford truck from Duval and a 2011 Chevrolet Tahoe K9 patrol vehicle from Allen J. Chevrolet. The total purchase cost for all vehicles is $553,629.20. Chevy Tahoe K9 equipment will be purchased from impact fees, and the Ford truck from forfeiture funds will be reimbursed by revenues from one of the task forces the department is associated with.
Okay, questions? Chief, the K9 unit, the Chevrolet Tahoe K9 unit, does it come equipped or already set up, the K9 unit, or do you buy the Chevy and then send it off somewhere? Do you buy the Tahoe and send it off?
This year, I got Lieutenant Bell taking care of that for me. I think in years in the past, they came equipped, but the motor pool pretty much put the cage in and some other things. But this year, we're switching vehicles. We're using the Tahoe. How's it going to come out, Scott?
Mr. Mayor, Council, the Tahoe is going to be fully equipped with the cage, all the K9 equipment, especially the alarm systems, and it comes fully completed from the dealer to us. The only change we're making this year is the K9 cage itself and the specialty K9 alarm systems will be delivered by the dealer to Radiotronics, who's the manufacturer, have them install it, and then they'll deliver it to us. But it's all handled primarily through the dealer, and we'll pay Radiotronics separate for that.
And
So
I only-
by the time it gets here, it's ready to walk
I
out.
only ask that, Scott, because again, I must go on record to say, to do due diligence, the best we can do to buy local. I know you can't buy 19 cars local because you're buying fleet, you're buying on a statewide contract. But when you buy 1 or 2 cars, if you need it, do your best to try to get a price. All they want you to do is, they want you just to ask them and see if they can compete. And they're all vendors. I can tell you, Chevrolet's a vendor. They were bending my ear the other day. And I said, "Are you a vendor?" "I'm a vendor." I said, "Okay, well, I mean, when you change out your Explorers, maybe you'll go to Tahoe's and we'll get a local price." But again, I got to preach local vendors. Those are the ones that are putting these young men and women to work every day in the great city of Homestead. Okay? Thank you, Scott.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, we vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Okay, next item, tab 18, motion to place North Miami Beach Police Department mutual aid agreement. Second? Thank you. Staff?
Mayor, this item recommends Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution and authorize City Manager and Chief of Police to sign the attached mutual aid agreement on behalf of the city with the North Miami Beach Police Department. Approving such agreement will extend law enforcement services, resources, and assistance to adequately respond to emergency calls. This agreement will take effect upon execution until March 10, 2013. There is no cost associated with this agreement.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Item carries. Motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. See you on the 16th.